Good morning and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Clinton Griffiths. Today we continue our no-till series with a look at making sure you have the right equipment and the right setup to get the job done. Randy, I guess one of the most important things that producers can do is make sure that their planter is set up correctly. And there's some basic tips that you can provide for them.
Well, certainly once we park the planter, in a lot of cases, we've done a lot that we're going to do for that crop. You know, if we do a poor job planting, we may get a chance to do it again on the same field. And so we want to do as good a job as possible. With a row crop planter, one of the first things you want to think about is having the toolbar level. And
okay.
so we carry a little torpedo level in the tractor, but usually once we get it set, you're all right.
Right.
You know, we've got a mounted planter here, but the same thing goes for any pull type planters, is that if you get this toolbar operating level, then the rest of the row unit that works behind it is also operating level,
right.
And that's where you want it.
It all kind of works together. Now, are there big differences in what we're going to see with a no-till planter versus a regular till planter?
Generally, we're working off the same frame, you know, so it's the same toolbar and everything. There's some different things that we'll want to do. One of the things, if we want to start looking no-till, is probably the springs that we have. If we buy an older planter and we want to convert that to no-till, then one of the first things we need to start looking at are the springs. Do we have enough springs on the row unit itself to give us some downforce?
Right.
On this particular planter, when we bought it, we didn't, and we bought some other springs to go inside, some heavy duty springs to push down on it. The way to know whether you have enough springs is you pull into your field, and once you've got the planter in the ground, if your gauge wheel is in solid contact with the ground, you should not be able to turn it.
Okay.
Like I'm doing. So right now we probably don't have enough downforce on this particular row unit as we're sitting here. So we want to make sure we've got that. But you also don't want to take all of the downforce and put it on here and then lift your drive wheel off the ground either.
That's true.
Because you're going to start missing some seed if you do that. So that's the thing. And if that's the case, if you get downforce on the row unit and you're not getting good solid contact with your drive wheel, you need more weight.
Okay.
And one of the things we've done, at least with our toolbar on this planter, is we've filled this toolbar with a lot of weight. Okay. And so that gives us a little weight. Some old suitcase weights or something like that can help out as well too. Okay. And so, because the thing, and you want to do it when your seed boxes are empty. Now naturally, you put a couple bags of seed in here, you got a lot of weight that's also going to push down on that row unit. But then as you start to plant and you run out of seed, it gets lighter, and then that's when you're going to have problems. So get it on solid contact with the ground. That's one big key with no-till.
Okay, so we've gotten it level. We're making sure we have good contact with the ground. What's next?
Well, I think then you got to think about getting good seed soil contact. And a lot of times in no-till, getting as good a seed soil contact is harder than it probably is in conventional till. So one of the things we want to think about, at least on our planter, we're running a small seed firmer that runs in the trench. Okay. And so it slides on top of the seed and kind of forces it into the bottom of the trench. There's different models you can get for those, but we find those to be good. You could do different things with your closing wheels on the back. You know, we've got a standard setup on this planter. There's a lot of planters are going to be kind of standard with that V type. One of the things that we've done is we've started looking at some different types of wheels where we might have one of these type spike wheels here, right, and running that in conjunction with a standard wheel. And in some sunflower tests that we ran this year, some no-till sunflower into wheat stubble, that wheel looked really good for us, this combination. And so,
and what is the spike wheel going to do for you in the soil?
Well, a lot of times in our no-till, if you look at this, it's kind of poking at the side here, and a lot of times in no-till, especially fields that have been in no-till for a while, it can be kind of dry on the surface where you can go, but then maybe a ½ inch or 3/4 of an inch down, you can have really, really wet soil. Right. And so you're still able to drive across it, but it might still be a little bit too wet to plant. And the opener discs on the planter will actually smear the sidewalls, and it makes it hard for roots to grow through those.
Because it kind of compacts it then.
Yeah, it kind of compacts that sidewall a little bit, and so all your roots are growing down the trench. What a wheel like this is going to do is it's going to kind of fracture that sidewall a little bit, and then allow those roots to grow. Now, you know, we're running this wheel on the side here. You can run, you can run 2 of them if you want and break both sides. But we're kind of feeling like right now, at least for us, this the standard wheel is kind of giving us a little bit of support and not letting it go in too far, not being too aggressive in some of the fields that we've been in.
Okay. So you have your back wheels kind of fixed up. What's happening on the front as you're going through? We want to take a look at what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, basically on the front side, right now, what you can have is you got two choices if you're going to plant into residue. You're either going to have to move it out of the way, or you've got to cut through it. In a lot of cases, if you've got good opener discs, and these still have a pretty good bevel on those, if those opener discs are in good shape, you can run, and if the residue's in good shape, you can run just with that unit itself, and it will cut through the residue.
Right.
What you don't want to do is you don't want to take some residue, you know, and instead of cut it, just push it down into the slot, because you're not cutting it. Because now, if you just shove this down into the slot and hairpin it, you're going to have a lot. It's going to be a lot harder to get good seed soil contact.
Right.
And so that's what you don't want to do. You want to either move it out of the way, or cut it.
Okay.
And there's different ways to cut it. You can cut it with the opener discs if in fact those are in good condition. And as well, if you're going to go no-till, they should be. This is one of the things, the cost of a set of opener discs on a planter versus the cost of a poor stand is pretty insignificant. So so you want to make sure those opener discs are in as good a shape as possible. So you can cut it with those if the residue is dry enough, but if it's a little bit wet, and sometimes, you know, in double cropping and you get into wheat straw, it can get pretty tough, and so that's a challenging situation. You could potentially run a coulter in front of it to cut it, you know, a different wavy coulter or something like that to cut the residue. Or what we're doing on the other side of the planter is we have a row cleaner where we're actually moving the residue out of the way.
Just getting it out of there.
Yeah, and so the row cleaner is designed just basically to scrape that residue out of the way, so the opener discs don't have to cut it. The gauge wheels have a smoother place to run, so you kind of get better depth control, or more consistent depth control with it, because the row unit's not bouncing as much. But you know, those are options, and you can go different ways with it. But you know, the wheat residue, like I said, double crop, you got to kind of think about it like you're harvesting wheat. Right. In the mornings, when you've got a little dew on there, the straw's too tough to cut, and so you have to wait till it dries out a little bit.
Okay.
Well, if it's too tough to cut with a sickle, it's dang sure too tough to cut with an opener disc on a planter. Right. And so just wait, you know, drink an extra cup of coffee and hang around the house, and then go plant a little later, you know, in the day. And so, but yeah, make sure the residue's in good condition so that you can plant through it. That's a big key.
Is there, we talked about wheat stubble. I mean, are there corn stubble and that kind of thing? I mean, are there big differences in setups that way?
No, generally corn stubbles, especially with our BT corns and stuff, it's a little tougher, and it'll start chewing planters up a little bit, especially the rubber parts on them. But it's not any more challenging to plant into than wheat stubble. Soybean stubble, obviously, since there's not much there, is very easy to no-till into. Right. But corn stubble is the thing you got to watch with corn stubble is the root balls, to make sure that you're getting those knocked out of the way, and you're getting, again, good placement back into the soil, you know, depth control in that situation. But I think probably to me, one of the toughest things to plant into is double crop into wheat stubble. Okay. Just because that residue's fresh, and you know, if we're no-tilling soybeans into corn stubble or milo or something like that, well, that residue's, you know, it's already gone through a few months in winter, and it's had a chance to start to decompose some. Sure. And so that's better. But that double crop into wheat stubble, you're right back into it. It's not been that long since the plant was growing, you know, so it can be a little tougher. But you know, wait a little bit.
Yeah, let it dry out.
Catch it later in the day, and I think it'll be okay.
Okay. Anything that we need to know on putting the seeds through and setting those seed distribution?
Well, naturally, if you're looking at your planter, I mean, you want to be, you want your seeds. Two things you want out of a planter is you want the seed to be as uniform as possible down the row, and you also want it to be, you want it to come up as uniform as possible. You know, you don't want corn plants coming up 10 days after the first one came up. And so the big thing there is seed soil contact. So if you're getting good seed soil contact and you're getting it at the right consistent depth, then you're going to be in good shape there. The seed firmers that we're running, work that we've done in the past would say that we'll get more uniform spacing with them. So they are helping us with that spacing down the row. They're relatively inexpensive, you know, for what you're going to get out of them. We've never been able to measure a consistent yield increase to them, but they never hurt us either. So I look ahead and say, well, right. I may not get yield out of them, but I'm getting better seed placement and better seed spacing, and so to me, that's worth something.
It's worth something.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I guess kind of to wrap it up, that, you know, if you have the right tools at no-till, working no-till over a field, it's pretty pretty cut and dry.
I think the big key is to pay attention to adjustment. You know, pay attention, make sure you've got the right attachments that you want, and pay attention to adjustment. And if you do that, it's a little more critical than I think it is in a clean till environment, but certainly is not unachievable.
Definitely. Well, thanks, Randy. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right. And you'll have an opportunity to learn more about no-till right here on SUNUP over the next few weeks. We're doing it as a preview to this year's No-Till Oklahoma Conference. It's February 8th and 9th at the National Center for Employee Development in Norman. You can find details on our website at sunup.okstate.edu and click on Show Links or contact your local extension office.